Hello, friend. Welcome back to the podcast. Wow, it was so amazing that many of you reached out from the last podcast episode, and I'm so glad that resonated with you. A lot of you do have questions around the psychedelics and microdosing. You can microdose for menopause, you can microdose for anxiety. Some of you are asking about depression. So many ways that there have been reports, not many, but there's research being done in these areas. And many of you have questions like, what does that even mean? What are these substances? And there's various substances. It's not just psilocybin or magic mushrooms. There's other substances you can microdose with. So just been loving talking with you. A number of you jumped on my calendar for that and just helping you through that process and really getting good information so that you can make informed decisions for you. Loving that. My calendar is filling up. If you do want to learn more about any of the offerings or this information, since there is a renaissance going on in a lot of states' legislature looking at decriminalizing, and we're just hoping to make a lot of progress in this area, which would bring relief for so many hurting individuals. I think there's still some people that think mental health illness or getting help in this area is shameful or there's stigma around it. But I just really want to say, I hope that you're in a profession that supports your mental health and that you feel supported and can find the right therapist or right modalities to help you, especially if you are struggling. I really want to destigmatize a lot of the ways people can receive healing and making sure that they are knowledgeable about the different ways. And we are going to be talking about what those intentions may look like for you in this podcast episode. So let's jump into setting intentions. So when we are talking about setting intentions, I really want to make it clear that that is not the same, my friend, as setting a goal. A goal is completely different than an intention. So a goal can support the intention. But setting an intention for the year or an intention for your life or a new focus or a new reframe or a new refresh that you want is generally higher level. So you might have an intention to take better care of your health. That is a big one that comes up in January every year, taking a more proactive approach and more emphasis on health. And I think that is fantastic. Now, once you have your intention set, then you can set goals, right? What goals would help move the needle on your health? For some women, it is really to cut back on their drinking. For some women, it's like, can I just get to the gym once a week? It's not been something I've prioritized. I've not cut out that kind of time for myself. It's not something I've enjoyed, or maybe there's some resistance around going, and starting off with those small steps towards a goal is helpful. But I really want to focus on intention. Like, goal setting is a completely different thing. And I help my women work on the difference between setting intentions versus setting goals. So when we talk about setting intentions, I want to talk about coming back to this lunar calendar, which I mentioned about last week on the podcast. Last year, the lunar calendar was all about the year of the snake. And I know we're quite not into the new lunar calendar per se, right? That's to come in a couple of weeks here. But really, with the start of the new year and the energy that comes with the start of a new year, and want to really keep that energy and keep creating that energy and maintaining that energy so it doesn't fade at the end of January or fade as we go into February, but really looking at what the lunar new year talks about for the year of 2026, or as we're moving into that phase. And that is the year of the horse. So last week we talked about the year of the snake, and now we're going to talk about the year of the horse. And I think this is magical. And this is why I want to spend a whole podcast talking about the year of the horse, because for me, it's very exciting. The year of the horse means forward momentum, right? If you think about a horse, they love to run. They just love to move forward. They're running forward, right? The year of the horse brings momentum. It brings boldness and forward movement. It is that steady, fast, fiery energy that calls you into clarity, direction, and courageous action. This is the year where aligned choices produce rapid, sustainable change, and your ability to balance freedom with focus becomes your greatest strength. The horse encourages authenticity. It encourages vision and leadership while reminding you to honor your sensitivity and stay rooted as life accelerates around you. Ooh, friend, wow, I read that and I am fired up. I want that authenticity, that vision, that leadership. And I'm going to talk about some ways I'm creating that in my own life with this intention setting for this coming year. And some of the goals I have that support that intention, right? So really think about setting your intention. I love the way to set an intention. And my intention around this year is going to be increasing my health and vitality. And it may surprise you in the ways that I'm going to be doing that. So I've made so much progress in that area last year. I've talked a little bit on that podcast previously and previous episodes on, when I designed that metabolic makeover program, it really spoke to me. And that's why I wanted to share it with others. Because when I did these little tiny steps in my life, I got profound change and lasting change. So when something works for me and I'm getting so much benefit from it, of course I want to share it. Right. When I talk about on the podcast, I've had people come on talk about their products. Some people have approached me to come on my podcast. I try their products and quite honestly, they don't work for me. So I'm not going to want to share that because I don't, want to go promote something that I feel is bogus or doesn't fit what aligns with me if it doesn't work for me. So there have been products that I've tried that I'm like, no, I'm sorry. I don't want to have you on the podcast. And that's just my truth. And I want to walk in that truth. I want to walk in that authenticity. And I really want to accentuate the things and illuminate the things that really do make change. So when I put together that whole metabolic makeover program, it just really helped me see myself differently as a middle-aged woman going into these new phases of my life and to be able to understand and support my body. I think a lot of times women just want to hate on their bodies or, be mad at themselves or whip themselves into shape or shame themselves into shape or whatever they're talking, about. It's like, oh, I should be doing this. I should be doing this. I should be doing this. And that is a red flag when I hear that word in my vocabulary or others, because it is not about taking care of yourself. It's about shaming yourself into a behavior that maybe you don't want to do, or maybe that you do want to do, but you just haven't found a way to do it in a way that supports you, lights you up, fills you up, and ignites your soul. And we are spiritual creatures in a human body, right? So if it does not light up our soul, my friend, I'm not so sure you're going to want to be taking those actions. So I really am connecting with my soul this year, my soul. That's health and vitality, right? Your purpose comes for me in my gut. I could feel something when it's right for me in my gut. Yeah, my head wants to get involved, but my head's going to do the pro con list. It's going to do what the head does. The head wants to make logic of everything. But really, like your body stores so much wisdom, as I talked about. And in me doing a lot of somatic work at the end of last year and continuing that work for this year, because I'm noticing how much it supports my health and my vitality, my purpose, my reason for getting out of bed, my joy, my hope. It's like my foundation of how I want this spirit of mine, this soul of mine to move through the universe. So I love this horse energy, bold movement, bold, right? Like you're standing up for what you believe in. It's bold. You are telling people about it, right? It's like who you are. It's the identity you are manifesting or taking on this year. And so I am moving into that bold forward motion for my vitality and my health. Some examples. You may feel inspired to launch a business. Okay, I already have a business. I'm inspired to transform some of the offerings in my business, and I've talked about what those offerings are last week. I'm also doing some cross collaborations with some coaches and healers here in San Diego. We're going to be doing some in-person events. We're going to be doing some trauma healing. We're going to be doing some emotional clearing blocks, like super fun somatic work. Like I am so on fire for this. Fiery, fast, steady action in this way. Maybe you feel inspired to even relocate. I feel inspired to relocate some of my clothes out of my closet that just don't serve me in this phase of life. They gave me great joy in the past, and they're just not filling me with that joy now. Or relocate, move. right? Relocate, change things up. Maybe you want to change where you work or change who you work for, or pursue a long held dream with renewed confidence. Maybe you put something on the back burner because it just didn't feel like the right time, or you had other priorities get in the way or take precedence over this. And now you're like, oh, those priorities are done or they're off my plate. And now I can get back to that project or that thing that I've been really wanting to do and dream about. And now I can launch it with confidence. Other examples, you may want to explore opportunities that all of a sudden just come across your path. So this happened to me. My friend called me up and she's like, I love your energy. I love all the things that you're doing. You've been talking about it on some of the mastermind calls that we're on. And I really think there's something powerful we can create together for the new year. And so Karen and I got on a few calls and we just outlined this amazing 12-week program for women to accomplish 3 things in their life that they really want to do that adds to their health and wellness. And so we're creating this brand new offering between the two of us, and it's a limited to just to 15 people max. We're really going to light them up, give them the tools to be successful throughout this 12 weeks. So that came like to me, right? And then we explored it and we fine-tuned it. And like within just a few weeks, we had crystallized this amazing offering that we are going to be offering to our communities. If by chance you are wanting to know more about that, feel free just to email me. You can do that through my contact page or right through Sherry@sherryprice.com. That is the only email that works for me in this new year is Sherry@sherryprice.com. So please, if my website is linked to that email, so if you got to the contact page, I will get that email. But if you're using an older email, I might not get that. So Sherry@sherryprice.com. So yeah, something may appear suddenly this month or next month, and you'll feel that in your body, that vibration. It's like, yes, this is a hell yes, I want to do this. Maybe there's something that's requiring some really decisive action. You've been back and forth, teetering. Let's make and move you into decisive action. Get on an epic breakthrough call if you need. Really take decisive, bold action, whether you're going to do it or not, right? You just want to answer that question so you can move on with clarity and confidence. And maybe it's a time you want to start trusting your inner guidance. And that's what I'm working more towards, trusting that inner guidance, not what's coming from my head, but what's coming from my heart and what's coming from my gut. And what's saying, yep, these are aligned. That's a hell yes, let's go. How about some projects that, may feel stagnant, but would gain some powerful momentum once you were in alignment with them, just through some simple intention and clarity. And I'm hoping this podcast, we're going to get to a few questions where you can be like, is this my intention? Do I need more clarity on this? How can I get that? Who can I go to help me get more clear on that? Help me define more clarity around that. I do this for my friends. I do this for my colleagues. I do this for my clients, right? Sometimes they're just stuck in this merry-go-round in their head. And I'm like, do you want to stay on the merry-go-round or do you ready to get off? And they're like, oh, I just want to get off this merry-go-round. I just can't seem to make a decision. So we just go through the clarity steps so that they can take aligned action. That's what you want, aligned action. It's not what I think you should do. It's about what you think you should do. And let's tap into that inner wisdom that is within you so you can identify what it is your body really wants to do. So I love some of the words for 2026 with the year of the horse. Listen to these words. They're so good. Boldness, movement, freedom. I want to throw in there another one. It's liberation. That's one that I think for me, I've heard about freedom from alcohol, freedom. That's great. But there's something liberating. There's something liberating when nothing holds you back. There's something liberating about not needing something, but actually wanting something. So I'm playing with this word liberation. So I really want to put liberation in there. Flow, clarity, direction. You know which way you are moving forward. That is direction. Intentional action. Ooh, that's so good. I am an action taker. I love taking action, and especially when it is intentional. It's not just for saying yes to things to fill my calendar or fill my time, but it is intentionally filling my calendar or filling my time with something that is aligned with my values or aligned with my goals. Sacred wildness. I love that one. I'm going to probably come back to that one if I could just stick a pin in that. Sacred wildness. Authenticity, rapid change, innovation, leadership, like self-leadership, leading yourself, not requiring others to lead you, but you, like they say, you can lead a horse to water, but it may not drink, right? But what if you led yourself to water and drank, right? It's like leading yourself to what you want and taking that action. I love self leadership. And we do talk a lot about that in Drink Less Lifestyle, like not changing for anybody else, but for you, and having that self leadership energy, because that feels so different than having being forced to do something or having change forced upon you. Courage, alignment, awakening. Yes, an awakening. I love that. Momentum is another one. So if you think about 2026, it carries the energy of the horse, which is about movement and courage and this inner strength that maybe you couldn't access until now because it needed to align at the right time. And maybe now is that right alignment, right timing. And when that feels all aligned, you instantly get motivated. You instantly have clarity. You instantly want to start taking action. So when the universe gives you that, take it, my friend. It is so precious. This is the year you stop circling your potential and you actually step into it. This is the year your growth outpaces your doubt because we will have self doubt. There will be times where self doubt will sneak in, but I love it that this year it's more about growth than about doubt. The year that life finally meets you at the level you've been climbing towards. No more holding back, no more shrinking to fit into old rooms or old ways of being. 2026 is the year you rise into the version of you that's always been waiting. I am toying with this idea of creating this circle of women here in my community called Rising Woman, because it really aligns with where my soul wants to go and how I want to use some of these tools to rise myself. And so teaching these tools to other women in this sacred, wild community feels so aligned to me. So I'm still processing what this will look like, but the rising woman sounds delightful for me for 2026. So 2025 was about the descent, 2026 is about the ascent. And so just rising. 2025 was the version that you shed and you maybe built it based on safety. But 2026 becomes the version of you built on freedom and, for me, liberation, moving into that liberation phase, that freedom phase. 2026 isn't about getting back to normal. Nope, we're done with that. It's about stepping into the life that your old self could never have arrived at or carried out because it just wasn't the right time. It wasn't the year of the horse. It wasn't about making bold moves and clarity and action. And now it's time. So intentions for 2026, and I call this your horse medicine because I think there's so much goodness to certain medicines, right? Plant medicines can really heal us. Other medicines can heal us. So this is your horse medicine. This horse medicine, if you decide to step into this 2026 year with this horse energy, it's going to give you momentum, new beginnings, desire, vitality, freedom, courage. It's a whole body yes. It's going to be aligned with your purpose, and it's going to provide this path towards opening, expansion, and liberation. All right. So with that much energy behind it and that much just goodness, I want to ask you to set your intention for 2026 and just to consider a few things as you reflect on this podcast. And maybe you're going to take out a piece of paper after you listen to this or want to re-listen to this podcast and sit with a notebook or a piece of paper so that you can connect with yourself and your intentions. I think it is so important to reflect and to give yourself some space, to give yourself some time to sit with yourself and see what is inside. Not to be afraid of ourselves, but really to tap in. Where is our desire? Where is that life force energy that is inside of us and inside of our soul? Where is it guiding us? Where is it nudging us? What is it asking us to become? What are the possibilities within us? So I want you to think, how do you want to move forward from here? After hearing all this information and these examples that I've used, has there anything that kind of piqued your interest or stood out, or you had a whole body yes, like you screamed it when you heard me say it. You're like, yes to that. And then I also want to invite in, if you have set your intention, if you're feeling like health or vitality or anything that I've mentioned feels like a hell yes, ask yourself, okay, great. I want to support myself in that regard. Are there any connections I can make? Is there anybody that would help me or support me or help connect me deeper to those intentions and to find your network, right? So, what connections could be made that are beneficial for your growth? So for me, I was mentioning health and vitality. Like I want more of that. And I want it more from this soul, spiritual, sacral level, that sacred wildness. I have this wild child inside of me, and she just wants to like live life to the fullest. She wants to self express. She wants to be terribly authentic. She wants to not fit in anymore, but be herself and belong, right? So I think fitting in and belonging are two different things. You can fit in, but that means you might have to change yourself or lie something about yourself or hide parts of yourself. And I think for so long, I used to think of myself as wanting to fit in. And maybe that's where alcohol helped me fit in when I felt like, oh, I'm a bit different than this environment, or I'm a bit different than how these people think, or I'm a bit different in this kind of way. And I realized, wait a second, I can belong, but it doesn't mean I have to fit in. It means I can have my own perspectives. I can have my own way of thinking. I can show up with my own way of dressing or being or however I self express and be okay with that and know that I still belong. It's not that I'm an outsider, it's that I'm part of the group. I just bring my uniqueness to the group, which ultimately might change and benefit the group because we're not all the same, right? It's like, oh, here's the flavor Sherry brings. And that is a beautiful, beautiful gift. And I'm tapping more into that sacred wildness, that sacred uniqueness, the way I am built differently in a special snowflake or whatever word you want to use, but how that is a gift and not something to be hidden, not something to shy away from, not something to suppress, not something to hold back, but to unleash with boldness. Are you following? Are you feeling it? Like, yes, yes, it's a whole body yes. And it's a sacred wildness inside for the rising woman to experience and express. And maybe it is moving into this new phase of life where you just give less F's. It's like, here I am. I'm not here to fit in. I'm here to belong and contribute in the way that I best can and serve. And I love that. So, what connections would be beneficial for your growth? I think that's something so important to consider. As I was reflecting on this question, I came up with three groups. And I reached out to these people. Some of them are one-on-one. So when I say groups, I'm just meaning another person helping me. Two can make a group, right? Doesn't need to be three or more necessarily. So I reached out to a person, and that's one connection that I'm making that's going to help me express my sacred wildness. And we're going to get started when our calendars sync up. So that's exciting. I've also connected with another group. Again, for health and vitality is my intention. But really, it's to get at this somatic healing work and doing it differently than how I did it in 2025. So, exploring it from a different angle, which is this different group that I'm joining for this year. And then I reached out to someone else too. So, there are three different connections that's going to help bring this horsepower and energy alive with boldness and forward movement. So, are there any connections you want to make? So they could be free, they could be paid, right? Like anything, any connections that you want to make that's going to help get this horse running faster, with more fury, with more energy, with more boldness to carry you forward. And then, what new beliefs or behaviors or understanding of the work do you want to integrate into your being? Notice I didn't say doing. Beliefs are about your being. You believe them whether you're taking the action or not. And that's very different because a lot of people will rely on their actions and their doing to support who they're being. So This comes a lot for women who have a hard time sitting on the couch and just being, right? They need to be doing. They need to be doing something for somebody else, doing something for their family, doing something for their job. Like they're overachievers, and I have been there, and they're doing for all the other people. And then they burn out. And then they're exhausted. And then they wonder why they're not taking care of themselves, or they just don't have time, because they get all their momentum and fulfillment from the doing. And I want to say there's momentum and fulfillment that comes from the being. And that comes through beliefs, that comes through your behaviors, and that comes through understanding yourself at the soul level. The soul level. And the soul, my friend, is not in the head. Your soul is in your body. And that's when you feel aligned with purpose, when you are honoring what's in your soul, and that's spiritual. And that's the work I am leaning into, this divine feminine energy that's wanting to live more boldly, more wildly, with sacredness and just sensuality, and really feeling into that for it this year. That is so going to add to my health and wellness, and I'm so excited. So reflect on these questions. How do you want to move in to this year of 2026 with forward momentum, with boldness, with honoring what is inside your soul? Okay, my friend, I hope you found this podcast useful, and I will see you next week. Thanks for listening to the Health Habits and Epic Living podcast. If you're ready to take the next step to improve your health, wellness, and lifestyle goals, head over to www.epicyou.com and sign up for my weekly newsletter. Again, that's EPICYOU.com. Please note that the information in this podcast is for educational purposes only and does not constitute medical advice.